All right. Thanks, everyone. At eOne, we've spent almost 25 years helping customers connect to their various systems, moving data back and forth. We still think that it's an important place to be, but we've got some new twists on that. Today, what we find is that the average user in one of your organizations has access to something like 30 different applications that they need as part of their job, and they use almost 10 of those on a day-to-day basis. And all of this task switching and hopping around and disconnected systems really makes for an inefficient organization and inefficient employees. And while there is always some type of data that needs to be connected and moved into your ERP system, so something like maybe payroll data, you've got to bring that in because you need that data for financial statements. But there's other kinds of data that maybe doesn't need to be brought in. And in the past, we would have moved that data because there was no alternative. So for example, in my CRM system, if I need to know, is this customer on hold in my ERP system? Am I allowed to sell to them? In the past, you would have had to create a connection into the ERP system or into the CRM system and actually move that data and sync it on a nightly basis. And really, we don't have to do that anymore. There are alternatives. So we're going to look at that as well. And the way that we think about that is so for F&O, we can connect to Dynamics 365. We use OData with standard and custom data entities. We can integrate the data. So if you need to bring data into D365 Finance, we can absolutely do that for you. If you need to move it out into something else, we can absolutely do that. And then if you're not quite using finance yet, we do have options for historical data from whatever you were using before. We have a process where we pull data out of your other system, whatever that original system was. We move the data into an Azure data lake, and then we make that data available inside of finance and operations. We'll look at that in a minute or two here. Um, and then we can also do file integration, moving data back and forth via Excel. So we've had some folks who need to pull data out, maybe for inventory counts, make adjustments in Excel, and then push that data back in a round trip. We can absolutely handle all of that. In some cases, there are folks who maybe don't have, maybe they have read-only access to D365 Finance, but they occasionally need to prep a journal entry for someone. We can provide the opportunity for them to upload that journal entry from an Excel sheet, and then that could be reviewed and posted as appropriate. And then we'll look at embedded reporting here in just a second. So the way we think about this is move the data and share the data. And so we have two tools we're going to take a quick look at. Move the data is for those scenarios where you actually have to move data between two systems. I need to move payroll from whatever my payroll system is into D365 Finance. Share the data is I need to make that data available for a person to be able to interact with, to make a judgment call, to have additional information for whatever reason, but it doesn't necessarily need to live in a particular system, just needs to be available in that system. So let's see what some of those look like. This is Smart Connect. This is the web-based version of our long-running connection tool. Again, we've been at this for more than 25 years. We have both or almost 25 years. We have both an on-prem and a cloud version. This is the cloud version. And essentially, if you need to move data between two systems, you simply set up connections between those systems. We have lots of options. So for a new connection, for example, we have all kinds of native connectors into lots of different systems. As well, we have access to a REST API connector, so that'll let us connect into the vast majority of the internet. And we have connections into multiple SQL connectors, whether that's Microsoft or Oracle, MySQL. With all of that, there are very, very few systems that connect into ERP and CRM systems that we can't help make a connection to and move the data back and forth. So once you've connected to both of your systems, your target and your destination, um, there's a couple of different ways that we then define how that data is going to move. So we could do a bulk source, and in a bulk source, you might have data in a file. So I need to move data from an Excel file, or from a text file, from a CSV file into F&O. Folder, we might have a regular ongoing integration we need where we're just going to throw a file in a folder and we want the system to pick it up and integrate it. We can absolutely handle that. Query is going to be one of the more common ones. So this is a connection to another system. We want to bring data into CRM, or we want to push data to CRM on some type of regular basis. That's going to be a query. And then we have change triggers and real-time triggers. Change triggers collect change data and push it to the destination on a defined schedule. And then real-time triggers are just that. When something changes in a system, it moves to the destination system on effectively on demand when the change is made. The bulk sources and change triggers can all get scheduled. We have robust scheduling to make all of those things happen. So we've got a lot of flexibility with moving data back and forth. And then an actual integration is really the mapping of data between different systems. Let me see if I have. Oh, okay. We're just going to grab one because it's going to take a second. Essentially, what you're doing here is you're just mapping those items between systems. We'll see if this will open up. All right, we'll just grab one so that you can see what this looks like. And maybe not. Oh, there we go. Essentially between the source and we're selecting our source, selecting our target, and then the integration piece, we get a list of these are all of the fields in the source, and you're just going to map them to all of the fields in the target. We also have the ability to do all kinds of transformations when you're doing this. So we can make particular items we can make it really easy if you need to transform dates or transform amounts or anything as part of that integration. We've got robust error reporting and just really easy error recovery in the event that something goes wrong. So that is move the data. Let's look for just a minute at share the data. This is PopDoc. PopDoc is an ad hoc user reporting tool. We are connecting into multiple systems in this case, and we can display the data in multiple different ways. So we have some charts here, we have cards. Down here at the bottom, we have a simple list of data. In addition, we could look at, oops, let me we'll just grab a sales transaction here. We can, sorry, let me scroll back here and grab one. Um, and these do not have to be F&O. They don't even have to be Microsoft. This is coming from a completely different ERP system. We can have items coming from old systems like GP. And when we talk about moving from another system to F&O, part of what we're doing here is, there we go. That one took just a second. But part of what we're doing here is we can pick up your data, we move it into an Azure data lake, and then we're able to still report on it here. But the key story is we're also able to report on it inside of D365 Finance. So whatever you create here in the web can also be turned into a widget and made available in D365. So this is finance and operations. We have a widget shows up on the main screen. And in this case, this is a multi-part widget. So we're seeing opportunities that are actually coming in from Dynamics CRM. We can make that data available in F&O. We have accounts payable and receivables data coming from F&O. So this is just F&O data being presented a little differently. We've got some migration data from GP, NAV, and SNL, all of their SL, all available here. As well as items from Salesforce, Shopify, other systems, all these reports would be available to folks who are working inside of finance. So if they need to know what's going on with a Shopify transaction, they're able to grab that report and bring it over. But we're not limited to D365 Finance. We can go both directions. So if you need to show F&O data inside of Salesforce or inside of Dynamics CRM, we can make that data available. Back to my previous example, if we need to show, can I sell to this user, and that data lives in D365 Finance, we can make it available in CRM. We can make it available in Salesforce, and your salespeople don't ever have to leave the system that they're in. In this case, your accountants don't have to leave the system that they work in every day to get additional pieces of information that they need to do their job. So we've got some really powerful connection options here between with our ability to both move the data if you need to do that, and our ability to share the data if you just need to make it available for an ordinary person to be able to look at it and get the information that they need to do their job. That's what we're all about at eOne, and we'd love to hear from you if you want to know more.
Thanks so much, Mark.